What was the biggest reason the Lakers lost this one?
Well, I think for the first quarter that they were blinded by the glare of those rings.
Bling, bling.
I think those championship rings blinded them, my goodness. But look, LeBron and AD just didn't play like top 5 players. That's really what it boils down to. And we understand why. I mean, again, they were basking in the celebration of their championship. That was a great ceremony with the family members, you know, presenting them with the rings. That was fantastic. Look, the 71-day layoff from last season, that's 30-something days less than you typically get. So I think all of those things are factored in. And let's remember, we saw the same thing last year. The Lakers came out sluggish in the opening night. The Clippers beat them. And it was very similar to what we saw last night. So I'm not going to put too much into the loss. But LeBron and AD just weren't themselves. It's as simple as that. LeBron played in spurts. He had some nice driving dunks at the basket, hit some nice three-pointers, but obviously didn't play his typical game. And AD never put his imprint on the game. I'll give him credit. He guarded Kawhi and made it tough on him. Kawhi shot 10 for 26. AD had a lot to do with that, with his length. But offensively, he wasn't a factor, nor was he a factor on the backboards. And I know that the Lakers want him to shoot more threes. He only shot 2 last night, but they want him to shoot about 5 a game. But they have to be careful not to just make AD a perimeter player.
Correct.
You also want to capitalize on him inside, and I don't think they did that last night. The role players were fine. Dennis Schroeder, you couldn't ask for much more. He almost had a triple-double. Montrezl Harrell gave them the same thing he gave the Clippers last year, and even Kyle Kuzma was good. But LeBron and AD just weren't themselves. And I don't expect to see LeBron kind of get into his midseason form for a while. I think he's going to have to ease himself into this season. And so that's what I saw last night.
You want to go? Go ahead.
No, you go. I want to hear your excuses.
Go ahead.
Come on.
You already gloating over there. Go ahead. Go ahead. I know you just sharpen.
You know, Chris,
See?
Clippers 116, Lakers 109 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? It has a ring to it. If the tables were turned right now, you guys would be all over me saying, I told you so. They don't have a leader. They don't have guts. They don't have heart. They don't have that dog in them. They're going to come all apart. No, they're not. My biggest takeaway last night was the Clippers are even a little better than they were a year ago when they were favored going into the playoffs to win it all. And the Lakers aren't quite as good as they were a year ago. And I will give you ring ceremonies because, as Chris knows, and the reason I made a big bet with Shannon on this game, and he gave me 4 points and the Clippers, was it's a long history in this league of parties pooped, of ring ceremonies ruined by the visiting team, because it is hard to get your mind back on suddenly, wait, we got to do it again right now? Yeah, you got to do it. And those guys have been sitting in their locker room stewing that the game started 20 minutes late because you were out there crowing about your championship rings with videos from all your family. And I loved it. I thought it was inspired. The whole ceremony, it moved me with all the family videos to introduce each ring. Yeah. It was great. It went on for a long time, and I don't think the Clippers loved it. But to me, Chris, the final irony of the night that had me laughing out loud by myself as I watched this game unfold in the third and fourth quarter was that the man who got the most scathing criticism of all the playoffs, it was leveled by this man across from me, was at playoff P, and as Shannon called him, playoff P-E-E. And what did playoff P do to Shannon Sharp's bet yesterday? He P-E-E'd all over your bet.
He did. He got you 4K.
He got you back. He said, watch this, Mr. Sharp. And he just flat out took the game over. The Clippers had taken the game over in the first quarter. I thought it was a tour de force by the Clippers, in part because the Lakers weren't ready to play. But then all of a sudden, right on schedule, it looked like Clippers versus Denver in games 5, 6, and 7
Right.
when they were up, as you know, 15 and then 19 and then 12. It looked like last night they were up 22 late in the first quarter, and then all of a sudden they lost it. They missed 12 out of 13 shots, and I thought, uh-oh, microcosm of last year, here we go again. They lost the lead all the way down to 2 at halftime, and then something happened at halftime with the Clippers. Somebody said something about not again, not this time, and as Kawhi said after the game, we played with more pride tonight. We just kept sharing the basketball the way we should, and in the end, we had each other's back, and we all stayed positive. That was a shot at Montrez, a new Laker, because they viewed Montrez as the malcontent who tore them apart internally.
Why are you taking a shot at Trez? He's not in your locker room. The difference is, Skip.
He's not, and that's the point.
The difference is that last night when you missed those 12 or 13 shots, the Nuggets didn't go cold with you. They made shots. And then once they got the lead, you folded like a lawn chair. But guess what? But that's okay. You gloat. He over there key, and Chris. You can't see him. But you ought to see him. He came out here at the stop of the show and banging on the desk and all talking about Jolly Ranchers and Kawhi shoes. But his day gonna come. Because I congratulated him, and all the Laker Nation, we congratulated the Clippers on the 2-time opening night champs. That's a huge accomplishment for you, because you won nothing. But your day coming, Skip Bayless. Now, I want you to have that same energy in about 5 months.
Well, I hope Marc Gasol has some energy, because he looked like a glacier last night. He looked like a liability. There's no Dwight, there's no JaVale, but there is a Marc Gasol who went 0 of 0 last night and got in early foul trouble.
Well, Skip, he's going to have to get, Chris, he's going to have to get himself in shape, because he was a step, first of all, when you're his age and his size, you can ill afford to be a step slow. You need to be a step early. And because he was a step slow, he got himself into foul trouble on Serge Ibaka and a few of the other guys. But that's okay. In a month, 1 month from today, watch how we look in January.
Watch how we looked last night with Serge Ibaka manning the lane and guarding the rim, as opposed to Montrezl Harrell, who's about 6'7". He's a liability on defense, and he was last night.
Trez gave us what we needed.
Yeah. Okay.
You just worry about Serge. You saw what AD did to Serge. Put him in the blender and took him to the house and dunked, don't he?
Yeah, one time he did, but that was the only one time, because AD was having a hard time scoring at the basket.
They doubled him.
Huh?
They came and doubled him.
There's Serge, and there's Zoo, and now there's Nicholas Batum, who's 6'9" and long 6'9", and has high basketball IQ. You put Luke Kennard and you put Nicholas Batum into the rotation, and all of a sudden they know how to play. They know how to get a lead home. This team is much smarter, which is what Kawhi said after Game 7. We need to improve our IQ, and they did.
Chris, you ever heard someone hype Luke Kennard as much as Skip is hyping Luke Kennard?
Yeah. He can play. He can play basketball.
Skip,
Watch.
I would say this, and I bet you feel this way. I don't know if you'll admit it. Paul George was great. We all saw that last night. But I have got question marks about Paul George. I think we all do. That was nice. Remember his first game last year?
Yeah.
When he came back off the injury?
Yeah, dropped like 36, 38, yeah.
With what we saw happen in the playoffs and what we've seen happen in playoffs recently with him, whether it was in Oklahoma City or obviously last year with the Clippers, I'm not sure I can count on him as my second guy. I like him. He's capable, but we've seen too much recently to know if he can get it done basically every game in the playoffs. Not going to have 30 points. But can I count on you for a solid 22 every night in the playoffs as Kawhi's second guy? I'm not so sure, and one regular season game is not going to convince me.
Okay, I give you this. Paul George is nothing but a complimentary star, but he's also an all-star. He's also capable of making first-team all-defense.
Yeah.
Last night, the stat was that as a primary defender on different Lakers, they shot a combined 1 for 8 against Paul George. So he's playing high-level defense as well as scoring the ball on offense.
Get in shape.
And, Chris, this is what should horrify Shannon Sharpe more than anything. My best player last night went 1 for 8 from 3, and we still won in a cakewalk. My third best player, who some nights is my second best player, Marcus Morris, was not able to play last night because of sore knees. Chris, I think you jumped off the Clippers bandwagon prematurely.
Well, I'll give you. I don't think the Clippers played that well last night.
I don't either.
I thought the first quarter, and you're right, the Lakers obviously were in a funk, but you saw the player movement and the ball movement Ty Lue had been talking about, right? First quarter. I thought from that point on, they got back into what they did last year, which was a lot of ISO. I thought Kawhi, and I love Kawhi, and I don't think he's this type of player, but at times he looked like a ball hawk. He was taking so many shots. He was 10 for 26, like you said, 1 for 8 from 3. And then they went to Paul George, and it was the same thing. ISO, give it to PG, and he just happened to be so hot that he took advantage of it. I think going forward, we will see them get more adept at doing the player movement and ball movement and stay with that consistently. And I do think that'll make them a better team and more dangerous.
Paul George played well. The Clippers didn't play well. Paul George won in that game, and you know that. That 15 he had in the third and that 11, especially like at the 5-minute mark, from down 5 minutes until the end of the third, he couldn't be stopped. He couldn't miss. He had a 4-point play, had a 3 and 1. But that's okay, Skip. That's okay.
I want you to keep that same energy, telling me that the Clippers are overrated and that they'll be done sooner than later. That's what you're trying to tell me. I want to hear that again all season.
No, I'm trying to tell you the Lakers are not going anywhere. We're still the best.
Go.